Us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
2 hours of sports talk excellence here in the Flower City. You have found us. Welcome, pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4326 is our phone number. We're on 95.7 FM, AM 950. We are streaming for free in the Odyssey app, and you can watch us on YouTube and Twitch. Many ways you can consume the program today, and it's really one of those days where just can we just soak this in? Things we've been waiting for. I don't know, like what, 9 months since we had a day like this where you just go outside and it's in the 80s and. Forget spring. We just skipped ahead to summer. And I know Jeremy White says fall is elite season. He's wrong. It's summer. It is. When was the last time we had an 80-degree day in Buffalo Sabres hockey on the same day? People are talking about last time we had a Game 7 victory for the Buffalo Sabres. And as you probably heard by now, that was Derek Plant, 1997 against the Sens. And what I remember about that was at the peak of the drama. That was Ted Nolan and Muckler, and they cut away to Muckler, and he looks all pissed up there. I mean, that was Ted Nolan 1.0. Like, he would come back years later. This is pre-Lindy, and Ted Nolan doesn't get a contract offer, and Lindy comes in, and then Lindy becomes the most beloved Sabres head coach of all time. So a lot to get to tonight. Again, you are welcome to join us at 866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. Since we have so much today, just one guest. Normally on Tuesdays, we talk to Matt Perino. Tomorrow is the day that the media will be allowed to view OTAs, and there'll be some availability. OTAs beginning today. So Matt will be tied up out at the Bills practice facility. So he's joining us today because we can certainly go over the schedule. We can go over what he's been seeing here in reporting on Matt Perino, some Bills talk, and I think we'll sneak in a little Sabres talk that's coming up the bottom of this hour. 585-866-4326, our number. You can reach us on X at WGR Rochester. Dan DeLorean, Dan Drummy, he's got some good audio next hour where Sean McDermott's speaking, and there's going to be I don't want to call it a shadow, but he's going to make himself be heard throughout this offseason, and I'll tell you why that's kind of smart. We'll go over what he had to say here. Producer Tim Schneider with a Sabre hat on today. I realize I'm really low on Sabre gear. Like the one I have of current, it's just getting beat up because I'm wearing it too much, and everything else is goat head, navy.
I've got a little bit of everything except the slug. I boycotted the slug. Everything I was given with the slug, I gave back or gave away. But I've got a decent amount of Sabre stuff outside of the slug era.
Yeah, my son has, when he was a kid, a Vanek slug, and he doesn't want to donate it. He can't fit into it now. So, I mean, that's how long we've been kind of suffering with this team. And just try to enjoy tonight. You can write to us. He's at Womfump. I'm at Gene Battaglia. As Timmy from San Diego did before the show started, with a suggestion that we should open the show today with Stevie Wonder's Superstition, which I love that song. And there was a beer commercial, and, who doesn't love the writing of Stevie Wonder? I just don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. That's why I won't play it. But the Superstition here today is, all right, it's Game 7, and it seems like in the sport that is superstitious, right? Lindy Ruff pulling an old move, the old Joe Crozier move, like, yeah, boys, you're not going home tonight. We're going to the hotel. So that was last night. Not that anybody would be going out on the town on a Sunday night, but we're going to treat this like a road game. Everybody chill out, get a good night's sleep here. We're going to a hotel. All right, so there's some expense with that. I'm all for that. Where they stayed, I don't know. I brought up Joe Crozier because I heard the stories like way back in the day that he would take the Amerks and go to Batavia. Like, just get you out of town and make sure that, all right, you're resting and no distractions. So that's one thing. If you want to call that superstitious, that's one thing. Mike Harrington is reporting, well, we already knew because she put it out there, Cammie Clune will not be singing the anthem tonight. It'll be one Doug Allen. Does he do the Doug Allen point at the end? The land,
He still does it.
He
Yes.
still does it. So to me, I think we're overdue for Doug Allen. I think you can't get any bigger than this. Not that it's anything against Cammie Clune, and she actually had kind of the viral moment when her mic went out and she kind of tapped it just to signal to the audience, hey, something's off here. I'm acknowledging this. And what do you know? That went viral there against the Bruins. No, Doug Allen feels right tonight. The next one, people are buzzing. Now, what came out of the morning skate today? What news and info? Answer, nothing. I'm fine with that. Like, Lindy is not going to tell you who's going in and out of the lineup. We're assuming it's UPL, right? It has to be Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Like, Alex Lyon, I know you want to get his head right. Let's save that for another day, okay? Like, this is Survivor football. I don't need – well, we might need Alex Lyon at some point. You know what? We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. If it's anybody but UPL tonight, what are we doing? Oh, by the way, how many goals did UPL give up when he came into the game the other night? Zero. Like, the Sabre offense exploded in Game 6, but we kind of overlooked the job UPL did at coming in relief. Alex Lyon, that was horrible. If you told me, like, he would give up 3 shots, 3 goals on 3 shots, I would have said, okay, well, it was a fun season. No, that – so we from the morning skate today, can't tell you for sure it's UPL. Can't tell you for sure it's Zach Metza. I nearly fell over when I saw the lineup that Metza was going in. And yes, he got the power play goal in garbage time, but he knows what to do with the puck when pressured. Don't cough it up. He's as sound as they come. And I would just say this. It's, but what if he hasn't had much experience on the penalty kill? Okay, in this series, I wouldn't worry about that all that much, right? Game 5, you gave up 2 power play goals without Zach Metza in the lineup. So not like you could have done any worse. So lineup changes, not so sure. But what people are buzzing about today's pregame presser is not what Lindy Ruff said, but what he wore. And I don't know if this is a message. Lindy's certainly calculating. He wore goat headgear. He wore the black hat. He wore a black jersey with the red trim. He wore those colors from the last time the Buffalo Sabres won a Game 7. That's pre-Lindy Ruff. Pre-Lindy Ruff. Derek Plant. And everybody storming. Again, Dan DeLorean loves the Senators. Sorry, Dan. I don't even know if you were alive in 1997, all right? So, like, if you were, I don't even know if you were a Sens fan at that point. But that was that's a fond memory. Now, what people are trying to figure out is this. Like, what would be the fine? There would be a fine from the NHL if you're wearing uniform sweaters that are not approved for this round. And the NHL does this because, well, they've got to keep the reins in on some things, right? Let's take, for example, baseball, all right? You're not going to see a team in City Connect jerseys, right, in the American League Championship Series. Or at least you shouldn't, all right? That would be dumb. This feels a little different. This feels like it would be natural. And Dan DeLorean, we're ready to go on the air today, pointed out that Dallas actually did this on the first round. I didn't catch that, and it's not like that would even register with me, to be honest. It's like, oh, okay, Dallas has a third uniform. This is a totally different look. Would that get people going? Why I would think it would be smart is, what would be the fine? Okay, could you make up with that fine with additional sales in merch? Like, everybody's been talking about how Zach Benson, his sweaters are all sold out. For good reason, right? That he's the hot guy, and you hope he's a part of this team for years to come. But what if you had not just the home Benson, but you also had the black goat head too? I would think there would be an opportunity to sell a lot more merch and cover the expense of the fine here. But that would be really pulling out the stops. The other stop, too, and this is more, again, it's more like fan fun. Like, in credit the Sabres. The Sabres went from being the stupid organization who couldn't figure out how to market to their fans Remember they did like the whole throwback thing, and they literally had like replica goat head jerseys coming out when they honored that. They didn't know how to market, some 5, 6, 7 years ago, to the one where they just created this whole cottage industry of, hey, who's going to bang the drum tonight? It should be Derek Plant, the last guy who scored in a Game 7. I think it's fun. I think, like, who would be the Tide? Who would be the guy you would want to see, or woman? Like, it doesn't. We had the widow of Rick Jenneret bang the drum in Game 1. So a lot of fun things leading up to this matchup tonight. As we will have the call, Dan and Razor and Marty. Marty was on the call on Saturday night, so that was kind of a fun thing to check out. That'll be coming up tonight here on the Sports Leader. Game 7 tonight, Buffalo hosting Montreal again. No word on lineup changes whatsoever. Tim saying, thank you for the shout-out. Tim, I would love to play Stevie Wonder, but I don't want – see, ultimately, I wouldn't be the one who would get in trouble. It would be Tim who would get in trouble on that.
Sometimes it's worth it. I would not wear this fine. Like, if I'm wearing a goat head, I'm taking that $1 million fine. I don't know if I'm willing to take the YouTube fine because that's my livelihood.
Yeah.
But if it's somebody else's money, let's get those goat heads on and do whatever it takes to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, if you want that arena buzzing, here's what you would do. I would take it a step further. I'd change after the warm-ups. I don't know if you could do that, though, because the pants and the socks and everything else, it would be too long, but that would be the drama move. That would be the play. Like, you would just go out there, do the pregame warm-ups, and then everybody change. I don't think that would work because you're going to have to change your pants and socks. But people show up tonight, and they're in the goat heads. People are going to be ready to go here tonight. And I want to credit the person I read this today, and it's one of those enjoy this moment tonight because the season that this is, the second that it ends, like next year is going to be different. It'll be fun. It'll be great. It'll be fun talking to our experts and talking about, all right, this is who the team should sign in free agency or contract stuff, the draft, all that stuff that, quite honestly, didn't pay any attention to because there was no hope. Now there will be a little bit of hope, but you know what there's going to be a lot more expectation next year. That's where this is. Tonight, this even Game 7 still feels like house money. It just does. Also, like, what would be the fine? Sometimes like you see a story and like you say that can't be right, and then you check you check the source, you look at it, you Google, and then you realize, oh my gosh, this is right. And I watch the other playoff series, but I'm not so in tune just to see that John Tortorella cost his team a second-round pick and got fined himself $100,000. This for not being available. The locker room for the Vegas Golden Knights didn't open up following the series win over Anaheim. Has something to do with officiating, has something to do with somebody said, but okay, now this is peak torts. Just when you thought that the 67-year-old former Amherst head coach had mellowed a little bit in his age, and that happens to a lot of us, and trust me, like anybody who crossed paths with torts here in Rochester, as I did, he's a type A personality, and there's nothing wrong with that. It does work, and I said this on the show last week. He's somebody that his style over the years has changed. This was in regards to the conversation about Seth Appert. Seth Appert is the modern-day coach who can talk to today's athlete, and John Tortorella was not that. But this isn't the 1990s anymore, even though we're talking about 1990s uniforms here on the show today. But Torts kind of evolved. But he still has that little bit of anger in him, and he doesn't have to explode on his players. And if he wants to redirect that to the media, I mean, good on the Vegas media for saying, hey, this isn't right. So Golden Knights get docked a second-round pick and also fined $100,000, which to me that's surprising. But if the Vegas Golden Knights are willing to pay $100,000, come on, Terry, if this is what it's going to take here tonight. So, we need, like, it's almost assumed that the Sabretooth has to repel too, right? It didn't work in game Game 5, but
Yes.
I think so. I think Sabretooth has to repel from the ceiling. And, again, that didn't work the last time out, but we'll give that a shot. 866-4326 is our phone number. Gene Battaglia with you on WGR Rochester. Again, pregame coverage tonight begins at 6, but I would think that's going to be the bulk of the show here today. But if anybody knows exactly what that fine might be, just do let us know. Our handle at WGR Rochester. The PGA Championship wrapped up. Did anybody even pay attention? I guess from a Rochester standpoint, you look back 3 years ago, and you had great storylines, and you had a name at the top of the leaderboard winning it in Brooks Koepka. You had the feel-good story in Michael Block. And from the tournament this past week, you had Rory yelling at the gallery on Sunday, or vice versa, however you want to look at it. You had a guy that, had the round of his life. And just generally, okay, John Rahm was there. Notice I said that. I've been practicing.
Ram.
Yeah, but it was otherwise just a really bland tournament. And sometimes it's just the course. And we could say we're a great golf community, and there's no doubt we are, but it's the course. I mean, it's not, it's the economy, stupid. It's the course, stupid. That's why we get, the major here once a decade. It's Oak Hill. Oak Hill is challenging, but it's fair. Meaning, hey, there's nothing so off crazy here that you don't have an opportunity to put up a high number. But it's not just like anybody can walk on and have rounds of their life. Michael Block being the exception, right? Here it just seemed just kind of averaged out. And Rory made that point on Friday. It's like, wait a second. Like, this doesn't, he didn't say this, but his thoughts were, this shouldn't be like a major. You shouldn't have, like, guys kind of hitting par, and that's all they need to do. And the opportunities for birdies aren't really there, and the bogeys aren't going to cost you anything, so everybody's kind of in the middle. And that's why you had the schmozzle on Sunday, to the point where I don't know who else does this, but I look at the leaderboard, and I'm like, okay, Yankees Mets are on. I could do a little yard work. It's like you make that, you call that audible on Sunday. And by the way, I spent all Saturday night watching hockey. So for the PGA Championship, that seemed like kind of like a nothing burger to me. 2036 is when we get it. 2035, I should say. How many years is that from now? That's 9 years.
It is 9 years.
That is 9 years.
And that is a button that is right there. No, it's not even there.
It's gone?
No, it's there.
All right, let's move on.
We'll be better next time.
Yeah, let's, what would Brian Gubble say? Let's move on. Shout out to the local lacrosse teams. RIT did it again. They're going to the national championship. This was a year where, all right, is this the best version of the Tiger lacrosse team? They're still good, but they had to fight just to win their conference, and they tore through the tournament up to this point. So good luck to Jay Kuhn and the RIT men's team. They will be taking on Tufts. That's the Power. That's noon Sunday in Charlottesville. So this is the University of Virginia. This is a rematch from 2024. Tufts won that by a score of 18-14. They also played in the semi, these two schools, in 2023. So RIT has beaten them in the regular season, but not when it counts. And this is certainly going to count, but certainly a successful year for RIT. The RIT community also, they're hosting the Division 2 and 3 women's lacrosse tournaments coming up this weekend. Syracuse makes it to the Final Four. There you go. All right, so the Orange are back. They're going to take on Notre Dame in the semi. Saturday, 2:30. Princeton and Duke are the other semi. And just my quick lacrosse take, and it's about the scheduling, because so many of the teams are based in the Northeast, right? And it's tradition to have the lacrosse wrap up on Memorial Day weekend, and it's great if you want to go travel. And it's, they've had it in big venues like Foxborough and Philadelphia and other places like that. And I think that's great, but I'd also say, well, if you really want to grow the sport of lacrosse, why not push this back a few weeks? I always think baseball takes it too far. I think when we get to the College World Series, it's like, oh, hey, didn't you guys graduate 6 weeks, 8 weeks ago? When did that exactly happen? And they do it just because, well, they want to make sure that we're playing baseball when the weather's good. Lacrosse, you don't get rainouts in lacrosse or anything like that, but some of these games in lacrosse, particularly in the Northeast, what are we doing playing in the second week in February? That's fine where you're Syracuse and you have a dome and everything else, but for some of these other schools, it's a little more tough. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, and the Shout podcast. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills coming up next. Calls at 866-4326, the area code proudly 585. Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester.
Brought to you by Odyssey Rochester Recruitment.
Are you a digital or media salesperson looking to represent advertising products that stand out from the rest? Odyssey Rochester, the owners of this radio station, are looking for you. Call Mike Johnson at 585-423-2946. Odyssey is an equal opportunity employer.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
Game 7 tonight, Buffalo hosting Montreal. No word on any possible lineup changes for either team. Sabres head coach Lindy Ruff telling his guys to savor this moment.
Try to let the players, again, wrap their arms around this opportunity, which is, if we were in training camp this year and we're on the first day and we wanted to talk about playing a game in the middle of May on an 85-degree day in Buffalo in Game 7 to move on, we'd all sign on the dotted line.
Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray with the call tonight beginning at 7. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills and a little Sabres. Matt Perino, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post Standard to join us next. Rochester Red Wings open a series tomorrow against Syracuse. Yankees at the stadium tonight against Patrick Corbin and the Toronto Blue Jays. NBA's Western Conference final begins tonight. San Antonio facing OKC. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Raising the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester.
In a night where we want to pull out every possible stop, the proverbial stops, let's do this. The speculation that the Sabres would go to the Goatheads we were just talking about as we welcome in our fine producer, Tim Schneider. This isn't happening, is it, Tim?
No, the answer is just simply no. No deal. The NHL
Why?
says no. If you do it, they won't drop the puck. So you could maybe, in theory, get away with it on the road if you forget on purpose, accidentally, the regular jerseys you're supposed to be wearing. If you accidentally travel with the Goatheads instead, I guess you don't have anything else to wear. You got to do it. But at home, no deal.
Okay, so there's no statement from the NHL on this. Somebody went to the rule book, but what if the Sabres ask for permission?
If they ask for permission,
then
Montreal has to agree. And with gamesmanship, why would Montreal say yes?
All right, so this is not happening.
It's very, very unlikely. However, I would love Buffalo to try and have the NHL or the referee say, go change, and then we sit on national television while the Sabres have to go get re-ready.
No, I don't need that.
That would be awesome.
It would be awesome. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post Standard, Shout Podcast. Thank you, Tim, joining us here. Matt, let him wear the throwbacks tonight.
Okay.
Matt, how are you?
I need that. I'm good. I need that. I need the scene out of Mighty Ducks 2 when Bombay brings the basket or the cardboard box of old school Mighty Ducks jerseys and they take off the Team USA and the Ducks chant starts. Like, I don't know if there's like a goat head chant, but like I'm all for the Game 7 pageantry, the drama, bring all the kind of nonsense. But that is kind of cool, like to think about, like if the Sabres were to ask and then the Montreal was kind of put in the position to say no. Oh man, I mean you could run wild with that in the lead up to the game, and that could be kind of like a behind.
For
It'll
sure.
be fun.
Yeah, this could be like a viral thing when Lindy comes out purposefully in black and red. Everybody's like, oh, all right, let's go. And then, no, they wouldn't let us wear. And then, oh, okay, you want to really get people riled up if they let that word out there. Matt, just before we ask you a bunch of Bills questions, just your thoughts. This has been a series where boy, there's been not a lot of middle ground. Either you have the Sabres winning big or Montreal winning big. Your thoughts on Buffalo and their chances here tonight?
I mean, I think that everything's like you throw everything that's happened at this point out for a Game 7, right? It's an unpredictable environment. It's an unpredictable moment where everybody's kind of experiencing things differently. Like if you would have told me that on the first 4 shots that Alex Lyon was going to let up 3 goals in that game, I probably would have told you no way. And this is playoff hockey, right? Like anything can happen. So I like their chances. I think that some of the strings that Lindy pulled last game were phenomenal. I mean, going to Zach Metza when you made this trade to bring in Shen and Stanley, I mean, it feels like nobody would have blamed him probably if he would have went back to one of those 2 guys. But I think he read how this series was going and how Metza's speed and just agility and ability could maybe help against a fast team in Montreal. They want to skate you to death. And I think that bringing in a guy like him makes a ton of sense. And then you just saw, like, separating Thompson and Tuck, bringing some youth and speed to the lines with those two guys really paid off. And I expect them to kind of maybe not completely tinker with it, but maybe make a change or two again or run it back. And I don't know, man. It's Game 7. Like, everybody's going to be nervous all day long in the lead up to it, and then you hope they can find a way to pull it off.
Yeah, Matt, it's a fun time, and you heard Lindy in the update say it's 85 degrees out, and we're talking about a Game 7. Or, we should just kind of just enjoy this moment here. Matt Perino joining us here. On behalf of the media that does not travel, I feel sorry, Matt. Like, you got to go on the road here coming up for Christmas Day and for the Bills for that matter, and work on Thanksgiving night. But that aside, there, your initial reaction to seeing the 2026 Buffalo Bills schedule.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, like, my biggest takeaway is that you think about the circumstances of this season and the fact that the Bills moved on from Sean McDermott and basically promoted Joe Brady, and you look at this schedule and you think about 6 primetime games, those 2 holiday games where the entire football world, the entire country is going to be locked on to the Buffalo Bills. And I can't help but feel that the pressure that was already there for this Buffalo Bills team this year under a first-year head coach, the schedule intensifies it quite a bit for me. And I think that every moment of this season is going to be so meticulously analyzed nationally for a team that has a quarterback that, that Super Bowl window is still wide open, but they don't stay open forever. And if this season goes off the rails at any point, and you talk about some of those primetime games, those holiday games, they're on the back end of this schedule. I'm thinking about the way that Joe Brady and Brandon Beane have talked about, him taking over, and the fact that this is year 1 for him as the head coach, and that's fair. This is Joe Brady's first year as an NFL head coach. The problem is he's getting a job with arguably the best player on the planet playing quarterback, and there is no mulligans when you're placed into this situation. When the Bills were going to move off of Sean McDermott, and it's why I kind of argued against it happening, because it almost felt like you were going to need the perfect replacement because of the sky-high expectations and navigating all of the challenges that are going to come along with that season. This is still the AFC champion from last season. The New England Patriots are in the division. They're still there. They're going to have a third-year quarterback. They might trade for A.J. Brown. They're still going to be a thing. You figure the Chiefs figure things out and get back into the mix, and you have the Bengals who have reshaped their defense, and you have the Baltimore Ravens who are retooling. Like, this conference is going to be still a really tough one to get out of, and it's a first-year head coach that's got to figure out a way to get him there, because if he doesn't get him there, how can you frame this season outside of a Josh Allen injury if they don't get to the Super Bowl as a failure? Because that's what you fired the last coach for.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. If you're just comparing this to the Sabres lose tonight, we'll be bummed. But, hey, that was a lot of fun. We're only at the beginning of the ride here. The ride for the Bills here. All right, this is what happens after just kind of years of falling short. Matt, everybody does the exercise, myself included. Like, okay, that's a win, that's a loss, it's a win, and it's a loss. The flaw in that is, okay, we really don't know if these teams are good. We don't know how the season's going to go. We don't know what injuries might pop up. But I do think we have an idea how things start. And when I look at weeks 2, 3, and 4 at home for Buffalo, they're all quality opponents. You mentioned the Patriots. Chargers were a playoff team last year. Detroit wasn't a playoff team, but you would figure are still going to be kind of a threat on offense, right? To me, I don't know if we could put an expectation on the Bills to sweep that 3-game series, right? Like, one of those teams might get Buffalo. It was New England last year. So that being said, kind of draws like the importance of week 1 going down to Houston, a place that you haven't played well, a place where, hey, their defense is going to be tough. Your thoughts on the importance of week one where you can say, all right, there's how many other games. But to me, if you want to put the season on the right foot, you want to get that division, you want to get the 1 seed, it starts week one to me in Houston.
Yeah, and I think that if you want to talk about, you think about how the Bills have framed things over the last couple of months, weeks really, since they got their offseason program started, and Joe Brady's mantra, put the ball down, right? Like we have Josh Allen, you got to come play us. Like that's got to be the mentality. And I don't think that it's almost a perfect game to start the vibes that you're looking for if you can find a way for the first time in the Josh Allen era to go on the road and win an NRG Stadium. He's 0-4 there. And it's a house of horrors for the Bills. I mean, they were up 16-0 in that playoff game, Josh Allen's first. Yeah. And, a lot of things happened in that game. And I don't think really you're going to put all of that loss on Josh Allen by any stretch. But, he has not played well there. And defensively, if you want to talk about for the Texans, if you want to talk about one of the worst performances by a Joe Brady-led offense over the last couple of years, you could probably go back to NRG Stadium last year against the Texans. And the Bills still could have won that game. And I think that tells you a little bit something about their offense. And obviously C.J. Stroud wasn't playing in that game. But I think you can make an argument after watching them against the Patriots in the playoffs last year. You're almost excited to play against C.J. Stroud in his first game since that one when he had 4 interceptions and that offense just looked miserable. And it's been an off season where people have even started the conversation, should the Texans think about moving off of C.J. Stroud? So there's a lot at play there. This is a very, very proud offense, but specifically an offensive line. And I think that getting Houston out of the gates is really kind of like a nice part of this schedule, because the Bills' offense is probably going to look a little bit different. New offensive lineman, a new number 1 receiver in DJ Moore. And I think this is like the chess match. Like, what can Joe Brady do in the rematch here to kind of force Houston's defense to have to pivot back if they're able to have some success early in this game? And if you can go on the road and you can play from ahead, which they really weren't able to do in that game last year in Houston, I think that sets things up. But to your point, the 3 home games are you love to return to Orchard Park, and it's going to be a 3-week party, right? Celebrating this brand new stadium. But everybody you play is a legit contender that is going to give you a tough game. And you come back on a short week against the Lions. Then you host the Chargers, who the Chargers could be this year's version of last year's Patriots. And I only mean from no playoffs to maybe making a run to the Super Bowl if things go kind of the way that they're hoping. Their offensive line is going to be healthy. That's going to be a really tough test. And then, the Patriots came into Orchard Park and won last year. So it's a really tough start. And then you got the West Coast back-to-back, where the Bills are going to have to kind of grapple with the idea of potentially staying out west, because do you really want in a 6-day turnaround fly all the way out there for a Monday night game against the Rams in L.A. and then come back on Tuesday and then have to fly back cross-country on Saturday for a Sunday game against the Raiders? The Bills might end up staying out there. So, and those are 2 tough games. I think the Raiders, another team that now has their quarterback. They have Max Crosby back. They've really retooled their defense. They've made some additions on offense. That's going to be 2 really tough road games right before the bye. I mean, if you were to tell me the Bills were sitting at 500 after their first 6 games, I'd probably say that that's realistic and maybe something that, you really don't want to be under 500 when you got to come off the bye against the Ravens.
Has the thought of, all right, you're out there for L.A., has the thought of Disneyland, not Disney World, Disneyland, crossed your mind?
No, and my wife was actually going to come with me to the Raiders game. We lived in Vegas for a couple years, so we have a lot of friends out there, and we haven't been out there in a few years. But it's just not going to work out, especially if I'm going out there and staying out there, if they're going to practice on the West Coast for a week, which we still probably won't know for quite a bit of time. So I would not do the Disneyland without the kids either, because my daughter has never been there. So no, it's going to be a full all-work trip.
Full all-work trip. Matt Perino, Shout Podcast, Syracuse Post-Standard, our guest here. You mentioned Vegas. I was going to just kind of bring this up that, hey, our old friend Taron Johnson apparently wants a new contract. And, again, that's not a holdout or anything like that. OTA is totally voluntary. My question here is there Is there anything like this on the radar for the Buffalo Bills, Matt? We don't get this. Everybody's pretty much taken care of, right? This would be kind of a surprise if any story like this popped up at this point.
100%. I mean, all the guys that would have fallen into that category aren't on the roster anymore. I mean, that purge that you saw, especially on the defensive side of the ball, took a lot of those guys out of the mix. And I'm sure Taron Johnson probably would have done something similar if he was still here, and obviously changing some things here. I'm trying to think if there's anybody at all three levels that's even a hangover. Like Benford just signed a new contract. Rousseau just signed a new contract. Bernard. There isn't a lot of players on this team right now that are getting even close. So, no, I don't think that's something that the Bills are going to have to worry about. And I almost think that that's kind of like a nice part about this season, onboarding a new head coach and starting a whole new program. I know there's going to be similarities, but even Mitch Moore said on Jim Rome last week that he's talked to guys that have said that it's felt like a completely different vibe in the building. And I do think and that's not a knock on Sean. I don't think Mitch has been very complimentary of Sean. But I do think that one thing we talked about a lot on our show, me and Ryan, over the last couple of years is that at some point, when you're trying to get over the hump year after year, the message, if it doesn't get stagnant, it just gets so repetitive that the doubts start to seep in terms of whether or not you're going to be able to get over the hump. And I think what they're doing right now with Brady coming on and the positive side of this thing is that it's a great unknown. You've never gone through this thing with him running the show anymore, and you're almost able to kind of wipe the slate clean in a lot of ways. And you think about last offseason and the James Cook saga and it going all the way through Hard Knocks and training camp and everything like that. The Bills don't have anything that they have to deal with like that this year, which I think will be an organizational relief.
So certainly in the newness, that's one storyline. OTA is beginning today. Now tomorrow is the day that you and other reporters get to go check out. Matt, what are some of the things you're going to be paying attention to tomorrow, whether that's something on the field you might be able to observe or perhaps talking to somebody? Your thoughts on heading out to the stadium tomorrow?
Yeah, I think we'll get our first chance to hear from Joe Brady for this post-draft where he's kind of now run a couple of practices. It's like we were out at rookie camp the other day, and, I saw a couple of people put out some video of him. Like, you forget, because he's been here for a couple of years. This is his first NFL head coach practice, right, that we've actually seen him open to the media and just seeing all the, different parts of it. Like, how is it different than the old ways? Is there any new kind of wrinkles to the practice schedule? They run, Sean McDermott historically has run early practices. I mean, it.
Yeah.
Out at St. John Fisher University, we're out on the field very early. Is it going to be something where practices are a little bit later on? It feels like that early on. I mean, rookie camp and now with OTA starting at about 12:45, that seems a little bit later. So just like the little stuff from a player perspective, yeah, getting a look at all these new pieces and any kind of insight into how they view this defense as they start at square one. I know that they've been I've heard some of the guys, I think Greg Rousseau recently went on an episode of Cover One's podcast, and they do a great job doing those film room sessions. And, when you're talking to these defensive players, and I think even E. Wood has had a couple guys on the podcast talking about, the scheme fit. And I think it was Deion Walker saying how, every day has been so scaled down. Everything's been so much slower in terms of implementation because it is something that's brand new to everybody. I mean, even guys that are coming over here from other schemes, maybe you've never played in the Jim Leonhard defense. And you have to know all the basic rules. And it feels like there's going to be a lot of stopping and teaching and, as they kind of prepare over the next month to kind of roll the balls out at Fisher and be as prepared as possible. But just seeing if we can get any kind of tells on where guys are going to be at, how do they view the linebacker spot? Where is Caleb Elamzar or going to position in? Who are the starting safeties? All those kinds of things, which, by the way, I don't think we're even able to report. But it is something that we're able to kind of guide our coverage a little bit, and you can kind of read between the lines a little bit when you listen to the podcast, when you're hearing about team drills, and if DJ Moore has some type of rep against a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, you probably can kind of figure things out.
Yeah, right. Like, so I guess the reporting rules for you and everybody else still remain the same. But, hey, you could talk about who you thought looked good out there. Like, that's certainly within, hey, they certainly look like they put in the work or whatever. Just talking code there just a little bit. Yeah, the defense is going to be certainly a huge storyline. And then, that first preseason game, like everything along the way is going to be, how is this going to shape? What about the other side of the ball? Like, how do you think Joe Brady really wants to he doesn't have to answer to anybody on this. Whatever he wants to do and tell Carmichael and his staff, he can kind of work with this. Like, does Josh take a bigger role in this? Your thoughts, Matt, last one for you here today. How does this offense kind of evolve here into 2026?
I mean, I think part of the reason they went out and got DJ Moore is he is a guy that tried and true over the course of his career. He is available. I think they like that, a guy that's going to be on the field. And you could talk about it from an injury perspective. You could talk about it with some of the, off the field stuff with Keon last year. Like, they needed a stabilizing force in that room, but they also needed that stabilizing force who's going to be available to be able to win at all three levels. And I mean, I think you could run that highlight from the Bears-Packers game over and over again this offseason. Like, everybody thinks of the Bills offense now as this dink and dunk, screen-heavy, passing game around the line of scrimmage offense. And I think that there is an evolution there. I mean, this is a guy that he comes from the Sean Payton model. He's brought over Pete Carmichael. They've had success with a bunch of different guys. There's excitement around Keon. You're adding more into the mix. You have Dalton Kincaid, Gene, who looks like this offseason, I don't want to, get everybody too overhyped, but it looks like his knee looks healthy. Like, I'm not seeing any sleeves. He's doing the push and the pull. There's been video clips of how much stronger he looks. Like, that's a piece that we've been talking about for, 3 straight years, that when is he going to be a guy that gets unlocked and finally is able to play to his full potential as a former first-round pick that they traded up for? So I think this offense could become more of a vertical, push the ball down the field, maybe even run a little bit more no huddle and put the offense in Josh Allen's hands. There's so many different – I don't think we're going to see all of that necessarily at OTAs, but if you're asking me how this thing can look different this year, I think there's a lot of variations that are still available for him to, unlock this offense. And then you think about Pete Carmichael, you think about all those great Saints teams, you think about Alvin Kamara, and where did Alvin Kamara eat just as much as in the run game? In the passing game. And that's something that I've been harping on for years. How do you unlock James Cook, who was drafted to be this pass-catching weapon, more in the passing game? Because his highlight reel in the passing game, when they do target him outside of the drops, which has been an obvious issue, I mean, it's been really strong. I mean, I remember a Chiefs touchdown a couple of years ago that it was just a wheel route where he just got single coverage against a linebacker and it was so easy to just run away from him. And they got to find a way to do that more. They got to find a way to get James Cook as many touches in this offense as you can, because I mentioned all those other guys. Cook's still probably your number one weapon.
So, yeah, absolutely. Like, using him more in the passing game. We have those memories of drops or whatever, but there are so many tools that Brady and Allen have to use here. Okay, so parenting question to wrap this up. It's Game 7 tonight. If it goes to overtime, how late are you letting them stay up tonight here, Matt?
Well, my daughter she'll probably fall asleep on the couch with us watching the game, and I'll take her up. My son, man, these kids, man, the life they have. He is going to Game 7 tonight.
What?
Yeah, dude. My father-in-law got season tickets last year, so he went to Game 1 against Boston and Game 1 against Montreal. So talk about how awesome an experience he's already had in these playoffs. They were going to sell the Game 7 seats to a Sabres fan, don't worry, just to make the money back. But I think after hemming and hawing over it, because this is such a hot ticket, he's like, how many Game 7s are you going to have in your lifetime as a Buffalo sports fan? So he's not only is talk about father-in-law of the year, grandpa of the year. He has season tickets. He's been watching the Sabres for decades. He is sending my son, one of his grandkids, and his 3 other grandkids. The oldest is in his 20s, and he's taking the 3 younger ones to this game. He's not even going. So talk about just like selfless, giving these kids experiences that they'll never forget. So he'll be there till the final whistle.
Yeah, look, I want to if we see him out and about, if you were coming out to Rochester again this summer, I want to shake his hand. That's a good man taking care of his grandkids like that. Matt, tell everybody about the Shop Podcast. The schedule here is, again, thank you for doing this a day earlier, by the way. Appreciate you moving up the schedule with everything going on in Buffalo this week. So,
oh, no worries.
Yeah, what can we check out? Because you'll have your report from the stadium tomorrow, I'm figuring.
Yep. So we'll have a story up with recapping the practice. I'll be live from probably One Bills Drive. We'll do a podcast reacting to the day, myself and Ryan. You can find that on all the platforms. So we stream live on YouTube, Facebook, and X, and then it's available on audio only on Spotify and Apple and all the good stuff.
All the places you get your fine podcast, and certainly a fine podcast is the Shout Podcast. Highly recommend it. Matt, appreciate the time today. Enjoy tonight. Tell your son to have a good time, and we'll catch up next week.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thanks, Matt. Matt Perino joining us here on the show. What was these are the things. Like, for my father, what he did for us, Ken Kaiser had these banquets years ago. Timmy, did you ever hear about these?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, because Kaiser had the cachet of, hey, come to my charity dinner. He had George Bratz, he had Reggie Jackson, he had all these names, and as a kid, it's like, wow, here's everybody. Here's Wade Boggs. It's so, to me, that is a memory I always cherish. Thank you, Dad, on that. And gosh, for Matt's father-in-law to pony up like that, that's a big, big one. Before we get to break, there are certain people in sports that I just don't like. And falling into that category, and I know you're Mr. Ohio, okay, Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer, what he did in Jacksonville was just so arrogant. He would show up, and I'm Urban Meyer, and because I'm Urban Meyer, we're going to win games. And how it kind of fell apart there, to me, was kind of hilarious. The fact that you, following a Thursday night game in Cincinnati, wouldn't even fly back with your own team, and not even understanding that everybody's got a cell phone in this day and age, and there you're koozying up here to some 20-year-old. Yeah, well, that's how your career as an NFL head coach it's our lasting memory. Little did I know that Urban Meyer was suing the Jaguars, Tim. That was 5 years ago he gets fired. Oh. This is language in a contract sort of deal, all right? He gets fired. Now, if you're fired because of the team kind of sucking, well, then the team owes you the money, right? Sean McDermott doesn't have to do a damn thing but we're going to hear from McDermott what he had to say next hour. Because he got fired because of performance, not with cause. And that was the argument, that Urban Meyer had $30 million still remaining on his contract. Pay me my money, Jacksonville Jaguars. And they said, no, we're firing you with cause. Whose lawyers won out? Oh, it would be the NFL's lawyers. Sorry, Herb.
Awesome.
Out $30 million.
So you can get paid to be bad at your job, but if you do something not related to the job, you can get fired for it and not get paid.
So what this is the speculation. What got him dinged was just violating league rules. $300,000, not in fines for the Jaguars, from the league for violating off-season workout rules. Again, this is Urban Meyer not understanding that you're not in college anymore. You can't lord over these players and work them out 2 days or whatever it was. So that was probably where they were like, no, you're not following the rules. We can fire you with cause. So funny how that dragged out 5 years, though. I don't think Meyer just woke up 2 weeks ago and said, you know what? I could use a little money. We should kind of look at that. Terrible Take, Timmy's Terrible Take will be coming up. We have time for your calls as well. Presented by Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, the Wingman line, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Rochester.
Hey, it's Gene Battaglia. Shopping for double pane windows this Memorial Day weekend? Well, nothing beats the new Illumilite window upgrade from Window Nation. The new Illumilite windows are designed to offer triple pane performance with the look and weight of double pane. That's because they use Triton Advanced triple pane glass, which means Window Nation's Illumilite windows are more energy efficient. They reduce outside noise by 15% or more, and they offer more glass area than comparable windows. That all adds up to windows that are easier to open and have an unmatched level of clarity and make your home comfortable year-round. Plus, they're backed by a lifetime limited warranty. And now is the best time to upgrade your home's windows during Window Nation's Buy 4, Get 4 free sale. Imagine replacing all your windows with new Illumilite ones and getting half of them for free. Plus, you could even get them with no money down and no monthly payments or interest for 2 years. Illuminite windows, available exclusively from the trusted partners at Window Nation. Schedule a consultation now by calling Window Nation at 866-90NATION or go to windownation.com.
WROCAM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey Sports Station. WGR Rochester. Sports Update.
Your current temperature in downtown Rochester is 88 degrees. And we've got a Game 7 tonight. Life is great. Buffalo hosting Montreal. No word on lineup changes for the Sabres. Lindy Ruff saying JFG.
I've pretty well said my piece about where we're at and how we got here. And players are like a sponge in a game like this because they know it's do or die. Let them play. It's their room. It's their team. Let them enjoy this moment.
Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray with the call tonight. Pregame begins at 6 here on the Sports Leader. Rochester Red Wings off tonight as they typically are on a Monday. They open a series at home against Syracuse. The Yankees open a series tonight at home against Toronto. The NBA's Western Conference Final begins tonight. San Antonio facing OKC. Gene Battaglia, the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Pull up a chair, stay for a while. You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master stroke. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have takes much hotter than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres! Bills, Americans, Red Wings, and Nighthawks. Sports bar. For Rochester Sports Talk.
Tonight, a day we're going to be looking back months, maybe years from now. Welcome on into the Sports Bar. Let's get ready for this Sabres hockey tonight here on the Sports Leader, WGR Rochester, as well as 96.5 WCMF. And, Lindy Ruff trying to pull out all the stops tonight. Doug Allen will be singing the national anthem. The Sabres have had some trouble on home ice, right? Well, let's treat this like a road game. Boys, we're staying overnight. I don't know what hotel. I don't know how that went over, but hey, they weren't in their homes last night. They're treating it exactly like a road game. And then Lindy, for his pregame presser today, came out and in the black and red and the goat heads. And I think the play is this. And this is something we kind of discovered along the way because we don't know the NHL rules when it comes to uniforms and that sort of thing. And it turns out in the playoffs, no. You have a home and away, and that's it. And if you cannot use your home jerseys in this certain situation, well, then it turns out that you got to change or else you could be penalized. Think of it this way. Montreal would have to bring down their whites tonight, okay? Not the red uniform. They wouldn't go color on color. That's why you won't see the goat heads. But maybe this is just all a way to rile you, the Sabre fan, up. Now, Tim, hear me out, because as you pointed out, no, the Sabres can't wear, they're not allowed to wear the black goat head uniforms tonight. What they can do is this, though. They can say, somehow, get the word out. We wanted to. The league said it was okay, but Montreal would not allow us to. Just that little bit of gamesmanship tonight.
There's a pathway there to making it happen, but again, Montreal will say no, and they have no reason to say yes. So I think you just got to go win the hockey game.
You just want, at this point, once the puck is dropped, nobody's going to remember who was wearing what. It was so satisfying to see that arena just empty out. Hopefully you stuck with it. I stuck with it right to the end. Saw Metza get his power play goal. And I'm like, yeah, that was
pretty rewarding for this show.
For sure. Like, we've been screaming. Like, what are you doing? You shouldn't be defenseman 8 or 9. Put him in. Well, look, at the power play goal, the game was already over at that point, but certainly did a fine job otherwise on that. We will be hearing from head coach Sean McDermott. He went on another national radio show, and I've got some of that we'll play for you here in a little bit, because I think shadow is a strong word. However, McDermott is going to make it be known to you that he wants a job in this league, so you're going to have his head kind of pop up from time to time. And that's totally fine by me. Matt Perino was great. He joined us in the 1 o'clock hour today, normally on a Tuesday, but things kind of moving around here. And it's a great point that Matt brought up, and it really didn't hit me until just now. Because under McDermott, we've been used to a pattern. This is when we practice. This is how things are. And if you're somebody that, hey, this is something I like to do every summer, and that is go check out the team at Fisher, you may have different practice times this year. It has always been, let's get out there in the morning and get our work in, and then we'll do our, close to the public sort of walkthrough at the end of the night when, nobody's around and it's a little cooler out. And to me, that always made sense because if we're going to get thunderstorms in our area, chances are greater that they'd happen in the afternoon rather than the morning. I don't think this means we're going to go back full-fledged to, the Russ Brandon era of training camp at St. John Fisher. I mean, who didn't like the night practices on the turf field? Who misses that just a little bit, just to have everybody kind of in that sort of setting? I missed that just a little bit, but I don't think we're going to go back there. But the idea they're practicing mid-afternoon tomorrow, okay, that's going to make it different when we get to football season if they stick with this pattern, because the Bills traditionally been let's get the workout in here in the morning. So just a small change that just a reminder that, yeah, there's a new head coach in Buffalo this year. We might be seeing a few more changes here. Time for Tim. Let's see if he's ready or not.
It's now time for Terrible Time Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day on WGR Rochester. WGR Rochester. It's Terrible Time Timmy.
I have a big ask of our audience because you don't like that song.
Hate it.
But you have to realize there's a visual component to our show now, too.
Yeah.
It's like the cameras are on. But what if somebody out there, maybe you're a grad of RIT and you did animation or whatever it is, the Terrible Time Timmy kind of open. How would that look visually?
A pinwheel hat and a kazoo.
Is it like you delivering newspapers driving along on a bike?
Just the worst.
Just like, if anybody wants to take a crack at a visual open that we could pair up to that and play for our audience on YouTube and Twitch, you're shaking your head no.
No, I don't like the song, and I like it even less after playing and normally it's before this, but we played the open. Like, that's a banger. That's a great open. And we play that, and I love it, and it's awesome, and I'm ready for the second hour, and then I got to play that sometimes every once in a while in this part of the show, and it just really drags me down.
Drags you down. I think it's I think it's funny. You could take it like a different direction. You could have like Tim at a bar. He's playing darts. He's like nodding his head. He's crying when the Browns lose. Like all these things you could do visually. And again, like you have the AI tool. So anybody that wants to take a crack at that, I'm going to open that up. Submissions are going to be open-ended here. So if somebody wants to put a visual on the life of Terrible Take Timmy just for a show open, again, the creative license is there for you.
It's a glorious life, I'll tell you what. I'm living a dream.
It is. It's an 88-degree day, Tim, and we're talking hockey. What do you have for us?
That is actually where I'm going with it. We've been maybe mentioning or thinking and hoping who's going to bang the drum. The answer is very easy. We don't need the pageantry. We don't need the spectacle. We just need a hockey game. Sabretooth is the answer. Just have the game be a hockey game. It's a must-win. It's the most important game that they've played in probably 15, 20 years, maybe 30. Just win a hockey game. Do your job. Get it done. And as Lindy Ruff said today, JFG, just get the job done. You don't need to do anything for game presentation. It's Game 7. It writes itself. Derek Plant would be nice, nostalgic. We don't need nostalgia. We need right now. We don't need the past. We need the future. Tonight, Buffalo, regular hockey game. Bang the drum, Sabretooth, win the game, Buffalo. Let's go to Carolina.
Okay, so fair enough. I think the whole bang the drum thing is missing something.
Wins.
Well, that, but I'm just saying when they bang their "Let's go Buffalo," boom, 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 boom. Let's go Buffalo. Yay! Like it feels like it's like where else would you rather be than right here, right now, and you have a mic drop. The only guy who got this right was Josh Allen. He realized, okay, I need some sort of mic drop. Let me pound my high noon or whatever it was. That to me, you can't make that a mandate. Can you imagine Sandra Jennerette pounding a beer?
That would be incredible.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Look, that would be Tim. You don't think that would fire somebody up? Like, I just don't need.
I don't need to be fired up. It's Game 7. I'm ready. I'm already fired up.
Tim, this is like an anti-Tim talk take. I of all people, I would think you give me all the pageantry, give me everything here. Give me like one of those saber swords and then funnel it.
I have one.
Okay.
Let's use it. I will use it if we need to, but I don't need any superstitions. I just need a hockey team to win a hockey game.
Dude, it is superstitious. You were talking about the superstitious sports. So, especially our show, what's going to happen tomorrow, Tim? Do I even bring this
hopefully
up?
Bruno Martino is happening tomorrow.
Did we think Bruno Martino was going to happen when we got off the air Friday?
No, we didn't.
No.
I'm still very nervous.
Did not. And Bruno, I'm going to give you reasons why, right? I just think that maybe there's more gas in the tank for Buffalo than there is Montreal. Montreal had to do this earlier in Tampa. And what happened in that game? Anybody remember? I remember. I watched the whole thing. They didn't get a damn shot on goal in the second.
9 times.
That was it. Thank you, Tim. You remember. And it was just this fluky, as Brian Hills from our team, Carney would say, greasy goal. That was it. A greasy goal goes in, and Montreal advances. Yay. That was the difference. Dobich looked sketch.
He's looked really bad.
Yeah, like he looks sketch. So, to me, where you lost Game 5, you had your foot on the pedal. You scored 3 times in that opening period. And then Tage Thompson walking in. How did you not lift the puck? You should have scored on that. So that, to me, is where it flipped. Tonight, my expectations, they score in the first period. And maybe again. You've got to keep your foot on the pedal. I want this turning into a 6-1 laugher tonight.
I would absolutely love a breeze game.
I don't need it. There's a caller there. Oh, I would love to have an overtime game. Hell no. I don't need no overtime game tonight. I don't need that stress in my life.
Well, when the Sabre is involved, no thank you. I love 6, 7, 8 overtime games. Give me all the overtime except for when the Sabre is involved. Just win the game 5-0 and make it easy as hell.
When I was in college, Tim, I'm not proud of this. I smoked. I was like, I smoked. And then first days in radio, did that too. And this is the 90s, how everyone did. And then I met the executive producers. She's like, that's not cool.
She fixed you.
Okay, yeah, she fixed me. Give her credit on that. That never exits your system. It just doesn't. No, I like as far as times where I'm like, man, I could just kind of fire one up right here with I had the butane lighter, that's out like
Zippo.
Yeah, Zippo. Like that would have felt really good. Like no, you know what I enjoy more? Living. I see the stats. Not a good idea to pick up smoking here during the postseason. By the way, too, like I don't even know how much they cost these days. Like, no, don't even go in that direction. But
close to $20. I'm not sure. I've never ever had one. So
no, it's not worth any good, and you shouldn't. Now people smoke things of a different kind, these days
legally even.
Yeah, and you know what? You smell. Like honestly, if you do that, like go take a shower, go do it on your own time. So. All sorts of things we're talking about in the sports bar. 585-866-4326. You're welcome to call your shot here. We do not have a guest next segment here, so let's open it up for you. I've got to get to Sean McDermott here, too, where hearing him talk here, I think it's clear, but I'm not sure it's going to work out in his favor, and I'll explain. 585-866-4326. Gene Battaglia with you here on WGR Rochester.
in Penfield.
Bills football, Sabres hockey, the proud home of the Rochester Americans. This is your sports station with the sports talk Rochester runs on. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
It is Game 7 on an 88-degree day here in Rochester. Buffalo hosting Montreal. No word on any lineup changes tonight. Lindy Ruff wants his guys just to savor this moment.
Try to let the players, again, wrap their arms around this opportunity, which is, if we were in training camp this year and we're on the first day and we wanted to talk about playing a game in the middle of May on an 85-degree day in Buffalo in Game 7 to move on, we'd all sign on the dotted line.
Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray will have the call tonight. Pre-game coverage begins officially at 6 here on the Sports Leader. Rochester Red Wings are off today. They're back in action tomorrow. Yankees open a series tonight at home against Toronto. The Mets are down in Washington. NBA's Western Conference Final begins tonight. San Antonio facing OKC. Gene Battaglia, the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, WGR Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
I'm still not over this idea that the Sabres are getting national TV coverage. Like, here they were on network television on Saturday night, and granted, it was in Montreal, and there was PK Subban, hooting and hollering in front of the Montreal fans, but hey, the scene is different today. The setting is in Buffalo. And just now on the Sports Center, live was Emily Kaplan, which is not a surprise, right? She covers the NHL, and this is the only series that has been going on all weekend here. And there she is in Buffalo giving her report, and she can't definitively say it's Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen tonight, but I would think all signs would point to that. 18 saves. No, they can't bring in Devin Levi. That would be ballsy.
An incredible move, but apparently not allowed.
No.
Colton Ellis would be also chaotic.
That would be chaotic, but not right.
Not going to happen.
But my comment about Emily, again, you heard Lindy say 85 degrees. Maybe that's what it is in Buffalo. Again, it's 88 here in downtown Rochester in May. I love it. She's dressed like this is Buffalo, normally what you would get in April, right? So, like, M. I mean, that's like, yeah, you might want to go down to the Galleria or something, get something else there.
Maybe she dressed like it was supposed to be Buffalo weather. We're not getting Buffalo weather in Buffalo right now. This is out of character.
No.
And maybe she just didn't travel accordingly.
Yeah, that's why you always gotta prepare, Tim, as they say. You know who's good at preparing? Cheesy radio segment. That's Sean McDermott. So Sean McDermott, that if you had to say most stunning stories, Western New York, be honest. When they finally did it, It's Martin Luther King Day. The Buffalo Bills eliminate another heartbreaking loss, and you get the alert, or maybe your friend calls you, and it just sinks in. And then you figure out, okay, what led up to this? How did the Bills finally come to the conclusion that Sean McDermott was not the guy to lead this team forward? And to me, it was stunning. I had it wrong. I thought as long as this team had Josh Allen, as long as they were competitive, that Terry Pegula had great respect for Sean McDermott. But sometimes changes are just needed. It doesn't matter if you're a good guy or if they like you or whatever. It's a really, really tough business. Sports is a tough business to work in, to thrive in. But Sean McDermott's resume of turning this Buffalo Bills team around, and it would start here. It would start with breaking the drought. Josh Allen wasn't even on the scene yet, and the Bills got to the postseason. Tyrod at quarterback, right? And he did that with a defense, and sure, it took a lot of luck there on the last day. But I'm of the belief that because he coaches the defensive side of the ball, because Sean McDermott, in any job interview, look, how would you answer for 13 seconds? What happened there? How, say the Jets have a head opening, like, why did you feel the importance to paint a picture there of 9/11 hijackers as an example of planning? There are questions that I don't know he can overcome in any interview. But you know what? Maybe the bigger sample of work here over how many years in Buffalo, 8, that would certainly bode well. What Sean McDermott now is doing, and this is smart, and it's a good lesson for anybody that might be transitioning between jobs, make yourself visible. Do whatever you can. You shouldn't, like, go away and then reappear. I'm sure Sean McDermott took some downtime. But you're going to hear him and see him, I think, a lot, particularly on these slower times where if he wants to be present, he has every opportunity to be present. So this was courtesy of our friends Moving the Chain, Sirius XM. Sean McDermott appearing on their show talking about how he views some others before him who found themselves out of work but then eventually got back in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's what I'm excited about. I mean, it's definitely a unique situation. Haven't done this ever in my career, come right out of college and start working like most of us, and you just roll from there. And so now you have this situation, and it says, hey, we're gonna seize the moment and take advantage of this. And, you know, you look at Andy's career in Philadelphia, worked with Andy for the better part of 12 years. He leaves Philly, didn't take time off, but went right into the Kansas City job. And, you know, our careers, his career in Philadelphia, my career in Buffalo, kind of run parallel to one another. It's ironic, but that I worked with him for 12 years. But all the people that you mentioned, you know, they're students of the game. And when they have opportunities, you better watch out because they're going to take advantage of it. And they're going to be ahead of the game when they come back. All the ones, Tom Coughlin, you know, all the coaches that you mentioned, Pete Carroll. I mean, look what he did, you know, between, you know, when the time he left New England, USC, and then back to Seattle. I mean, he wins world championships, right? So for those that have the ability and the skill and the desire, they're going to take advantage of that opportunity and make the most of it. And that's what I plan on doing.
Yeah, so, I mean, the obvious thing we should point out there is Andy Reid is fired from Philadelphia. Within a couple weeks, he landed in Kansas City. There was no time off. He recognized, you know what, the most important thing for me is to land on my feet. There wasn't that opportunity for Sean McDermott. And part of that is, and this is how things change in the league, is that, you know, a lot of the jobs, look, either they were filled or teams knew who they wanted right away, right? By the time McDermott entered kind of the fray, it's halfway through the process. Not to be all cheeky there about McDermott using that word, but that's one thing that I always kind of find kind of unsettling is that really not the timing of this. Everybody should just kind of wait. I understand why they don't, but it would be nice if, hey, the Super Bowl is over. Now let's begin our job process here for all these teams interviewing. So that didn't help McDermott. Doesn't help any coach, any coordinator who's preparing for a Super Bowl. And McDermott, you know, did that once upon a time with Carolina, and he got one interview with Cleveland, but nothing else to my knowledge. Will he get another crack next year? And you can already size up what jobs will be open. There's one team in the NFL that's an underdog in every game this year. That's the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona, no quarterback. Arizona, just kind of in a bad division, too, in terms of them being competitive. I mean, they're in a great division in terms of, hey, Super Bowl champion, a team that could be a Super Bowl champion in the Rams, and a team that, okay, would they get back to the Super Bowl and should it stock anybody? No, the Niners. And then you have Arizona. So will Arizona win a divisional game this year? Arizona might be picking top 10. They, to me, seem like a candidate. Even though LaFleur, will he get another run at it? I'm not sure. The Jets, boy, would we be all fearing for the future if Sean McDermott ended up in green? I hope he gets another job. I honestly do. And what did he learn from that? But what is he going to do in the interim? That was typical McDermott, right? He's giving you a lot of words, but what exactly are you going to do? Like for Tom Coughlin, he ran around the camps. Hey, coach, can I come and evaluate? Can I do this? And McDermott has enough friends in this league, and I would start maybe with the Giants, say, for example. If he called up his buddy there from Philadelphia, John Harbaugh, and said, "Hey, can I? I'm sure that, hey, Coach McDermott, come on in. You can hang with us here for a couple days during training camp." Places like that would be friendly for McDermott. It's going to be different. It is going to be so different this year for Buffalo, And what McDermott was good at was this: just being presidential, just being above the fray. That if you had anything that had kind of a whiff of controversy, he didn't feed into it. He played it down. And sometimes he would just kind of talk you in circles to death there. But the Diggs thing, maybe that was one of his own doing that he let get away from him. He wasn't perfect over the years. But for Sean McDermott, could he go into another organization and just give them stability? And we're going to do this the right way. I hate using the Marty Schottenheimer comparison, but that's what Marty did. He would take these franchises, okay, like Cleveland, nothing since Sam Rutigliano. He goes in there and wins, but he can't get over the top, and then he's out. Kansas City, kind of the same deal, right? Kansas City didn't do anything, and then Joe Montana appears, and Schottenheimer is there. The Chargers, but they could never get over the top. And then there was a stint in Washington, barely remember. I'm hoping it's not that, and it's more Tony Dungy, where Tony Dungy could not get over the top in Tampa Bay. It cost him his job. And you know what? Different times, circumstances, quarterback, and he ends up winning in Indianapolis. But again, the difference there is Tony Dungy didn't need a full year off in between. He got right back in. And credit Bill Polian for recognizing that, all right, the Tampa's loss is going to be our gain. Come on here. So will Sean McDermott get interviews next year? For sure. He may be already laying the groundwork for some of these teams for all we know. Like you're having casual conversations, and the owner might be picking his brain on something. But ultimately, he's coaching the wrong side of the ball. And if any of these teams are in a position to draft the next generational quarterback, there might be flashier names on the offensive side of the ball, and he has to deal with that. Now, Tony Dungy, do you think of him as offense or defense? Andy Reid certainly calls plays. You think of him as an offensive-minded coach. So, to me, like Sean McDermott going on national radio, that's just kind of a smart move, for sure. Let's talk some hockey. We've got some other notes to get to here as well. One other note here. Like Memorial Day is coming up, and if the Sabres are in action on Memorial Day, that will be a home game. But let's say you're an NBA fan. Let's say you're a Knicks fan. We haven't talked any NBA today. The get-in price in Cleveland for Memorial Day, Game 4, $267. That's it. And
I would take that off.
Well, right. They're like, are you kidding me? Like, to see the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Final, that arena is going to be run over by Knicks fans. So don't, anybody that's like, Buffalo, okay, you know what? Smaller market, and there's going to be some money that, there will be Montreal fans in there tonight. What do you want? That's a city that's 4 times the size of Buffalo, and that's, okay, you can say it's the Leafs. It's either the Leafs or Canadians. That's the franchise of Canada.
Right now, there's only one Canadian team left. All Canadians are rooting for Montreal. All
Canadians, yeah, like all Canadians. Like, are they going to light the CN Tower as they did years ago when they were in the Cup final against Tampa? Well, that's disgusting, by the way. Like, you should never, ever do something like that in Toronto. But, hey, country bigger than anything else. Last call is for you, 866-4326. Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider, Dan Drummond here on WGR Rochester.
for live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
So we earlier had the answer on will the Sabres wear the goat heads, and because the NHL rules, I mean, you know, it's just not going to be feasible for that to be happening. Now we have an answer on, all right, who's going to be banging the drum? And if you're somebody that, you know, oh, I want to be surprised. Okay, well, sorry, I'm going to tell you anyway. Kurt Russell?
That's the answer, allegedly.
Kurt Russell. Okay, so hold on. I'm trying to figure out what is the connection here with Kurt Russell. What movie did Kurt Russell say the word Rochester in? Tim Schneider, go.
I got nothing except for Miracle.
Come on, it's one of those, like, he goes in, and it's one of the warm-up games for the Olympics, and he is ripping the team. See, this is the one now we're going to have Dan DeLorean maybe pull it up. Yeah, and you guys are playing like this is some weeknight game in Rochester. And the first time I heard that, I'm like, oh, you said her name. Yeah, like, if you had to say what role is Kurt Russell most known for? It's him playing Herb Brooks in Miracle, right? I would think. But does that make him a Sabre fan? Like, what is it? Like, I had no idea. Maybe he's just been a closeted Sabre fan. What is he best known for? Maybe having a marriage that's lasted in Hollywood so long with Goldie Hawn, although they're not married, but they're partners, I guess. But maybe does Goldie Hawn come tonight?
This is a big game. I'm going. If I'm her, I'm going.
Come
She
on,
can afford
Goldie.
it. I can't.
Goldie Hawn. Like, when was the last time she made a public appearance? Like, that's what I'm bracing for here tonight, because all these guys, like, you have a picture of them in whatever role they were, and then you were like, oh, my gosh. Yeah, that would make sense. Like, how many years slash decades have kind of passed? Like, years ago, the Red Wings brought in Corbin Burnson. Remember Corbin Burnson? Of course you do. L.A. Law and Major League. We had him on the show here. And he, did the autograph signing over at the ballpark. And it's like, oh, yeah, we're all a little older now. It's like you kind of forget. So it'll be Kurt Russell banging the drum tonight. And I'm searching here. I don't know of any obvious connection here. Is he friends with Lindy?
His son Wyatt is a fan. The Sabres tweeted a message from Kurt Russell earlier in the season.
Okay.
And apparently that's the connection. That's the relationship was forged from his son being a fan of the Sabres. And
okay.
Now that's how they got involved.
Well, okay. So Kurt Russell, you would think, is vaguely familiar with hockey, having played one of the greatest coaches and one of the greatest hockey sports stories of all time. Now I want to watch Miracle after putting this out there. 585-866-4326. We do have Game 7 tonight on an 88-degree day. Maybe it's a little cooler down by the lake, but it's just fantastic wearing shorts on a day like today. And we do get the game 7. Now, if the Sabres prevail or if it's Montreal, it'll be Carolina taking on Buffalo. And that series will start on Thursday. So, yay for the NHL, giving the Sabres or Canadians one extra day off in between. They could have done that Wednesday. They did not. I would just point to how the Amerks had a layoff, not this past season, but the one prior, where Devin Levi and the team mowing over Syracuse, and you're like, yep, let's go. Here we go. And then you're waiting around forever, and you get to it was Memorial Day weekend where you're playing Laval. And that layoff hurt the Amerks. Carolina, it's different. They're NHL players compared to AHL players. How much of an effect will that have? I bet it has some. Might take them a period or two to dial in for Carolina, but you can't say that's not a factor. I'd much rather be the team that's playing consistently than the team trying to simulate it for nearly 2 weeks. 2 weeks, 12 days. That's crazy. So, again, that will begin on Thursday. We will do a show. Traditionally, Tim, this is the way it's worked here, that Memorial Day is the time we kind of shut it down here in the sports bar. If the Sabres win tonight, I can't do that. So
we're still riding.
We're still riding. Ride or die here. No, we'll have plenty of time in the summer to talk about what might be happening. To kind of review, we don't have any official word on it being Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. But how could it not be? How could it not? Like, if you just had to take who had the worst performance in any one particular game, it was Alex Lyon.
It sure was.
It was Alex Lyon. It was horrifying. I'm thinking, this is how this is going to end. And my mind automatically jumps to who's going to be the goaltender next year? And I'm thinking, my gosh, maybe it is going to be Devin Levi after all. We talked to Thad Brown last week, and he said the best goaltender for the future in the organization, the one with the highest ceiling, is Devin Levi. And then you think, no, it can't be. They're like, well, hey, who's to say he can't go out there and win a job? But then after you see Lyon do what he did the other night, oh, and by the way, you pulled Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in the game before that. Now, funny how sports work. UPL was great. Faced 18 shots, saved all 18 shots. Dobich got pulled. And like, oh, Fowler. I remember that guy. Oh, good. We scored on Fowler. It was like the Amerks scoring on Laval there with Zach Metza against Fowler. Let's table all the talk for goaltending next year. Like, we know the options, right? Have a competition with the 3 or 4 guys. You got to count Ellis in there, right? We go out and sign or trade for somebody. All that is for a day in June. July, whenever it is that we get to the postseason. Tonight, this is UPL's moment. And it's funny how if you watched the broadcast on ABC on Monday, how they talked about this being Alex Lyon's moment. This is his career-defining moment. I'm like, oh, my gosh.
That's a bad way to define your career.
Oh, wow. This series has been weird. It has been really strange where you would say one game, Montreal is the superior team. You could say that in the first period the other game. Montreal is a superior team. Hey, it's a great season. And then all of a sudden they're not. And the Sabres kind of wake up. So what happens tonight? I'm going to say what I've been saying all along. Sabres in 7. Sabres get this done.
I hope you're right.
And it's going to be one of the, I love to say it's going to be 6-1. Just get out a fine cognac or whatever it is and light a victory cigar. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be like 4-2 and an empty netter at the end, and that would do it and send everybody in delirium. And to me, right, anything after tonight is just total. Pick your favorite cliche. Gravy, house money, found money, whatever it is. Like for a team, if they are one of the 4 best teams in the National Hockey League, and where the universe is saying, it should be a Colorado-Carolina final, those are the 2 best teams. But if you love narratives, the idea that in my lifetime, the team that was the best for the Buffalo Sabres, it wasn't the team that lost in the final to Dallas. Oh, they were great. They played way over their heads. Lindy did a fantastic job. They had the best goaltender in the world. But talent-wise, they didn't match up, clearly. And, well, to me, when Jay McKee can't go in Game 7, the Sabres would have won that series over Edmonton in the final. They would have. And to get that team, to that unappreciative fan base, the transient, like they represent everything that we're not. I don't have any anger toward Montreal. Honestly, I don't. I respect their history. I don't respect the history of the Carolina Hurricanes. And just thinking about this now, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but this is what's beyond the next door here, Tim. Like that team, that city where we all had a friend like, oh, yeah, it's great down here. You should come down here. No, I like it up here. Thank you. You respect your decision.
Enjoy rally.
Yeah, that's it, for sure. Matt Perino was great today. We touched on a lot of Bills things, particularly the schedule. And for the schedule, the idea that you get 3 quality opponents all at home weeks 2, 3, and 4. It's a great way to kick off like the new stadium, right? Here it is. Should be great weather. Go out and enjoy. It's way too much to expect the Bills to sweep that. It just is. Which it underscores the importance of that opening game against Houston. Like, that's a Houston team that you should, but for whatever reason they don't play their best football whenever they go down there. Got a lot of time to talk about that. The Bills, we'll have some Bills notes creeping out tomorrow as OTAs, organized team activities, starting today. Portion that's open to reporters and media availability will be tomorrow. If you missed any of today's show, the fine Dan Drummey, the master bounty hunter of audio, has everything up for you in bite-sized form wherever you get your podcast, or you can just listen to the full 2 hours. Maybe you're just jumping in right now. We're on the air 1 to 3 Eastern here on 95.7 FM. Sabre pregame tonight beginning at 6 o'clock. Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray with the call after that. For Tim Schneider and Dan Drummey, my name is Gene Battaglia. Show for the Bulldog coming your way next here on the Sports Leader, WGR Rochester.